Imagine a rivalry so intense it lasts for over 600 years. For more than 6 centuries, they were the two most powerful empires on Earth, locked in a brutal struggle that defined the ancient world. Now, this wasn't one single continuous war. Think of it more as a relentless cycle of conflict that spanned generations, outlasting entire dynasties, countless emperors, and Persian shahs. It was a superpower showdown that pushed two civilizations to their absolute limits and consumed millions of lives. And in the end, after centuries of bloodshed, the conflict would have a single shocking winner that neither side ever saw coming. In the early 5th century BCE, Khosrow I, king of the Achaemenid Empire, launched one of the most ambitious military campaigns in ancient history, the invasion of Greece and Europe. Determined to avenge his father Darius's defeat at Marathon, Khosrow assembled a massive army and fleet, possibly over 200,000 soldiers and hundreds of ships, and crossed the Hellespont with floating bridges. His forces swept through Thrace and Macedonia, confronting Greek city-states that refused to submit. Remarkably, the Persians controlled islands like Euboea, giving them strategic bases in the Aegean Sea, while the backbone of Greek civilization, Athens, Sparta, and other city-states, faced a complete upheaval. Had Khosrow Shah succeeded fully, the entire cultural and political landscape of Western Europe could have been reshaped, potentially delaying the rise of democracy, philosophy, and Western civilization as we know it. Despite overwhelming numbers, the Greeks fought fiercely at battles like Thermopylae and Salamis, delaying the Persian advance and demonstrating the resilience of the West. Khosrow I campaign showed both the power and limits of Persia. He could dominate lands and seas, but geography, fierce resistance, and naval warfare prevented complete conquest. Yet the echoes of these wars lingered for generations. Persia had reached Europe's doorstep, leaving a legacy of ambition, conflict, and what could have been. It's 53 BCE, on a dusty plain near a town called Kari in modern-day Turkey. This is where the ambitions of the rapidly expanding Roman Republic slam head-on into the established might of the Persian Parthian Empire. Our main character is Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome. He's part of the famous First Triumvirate with Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great. And while he had all the money in the world, Crassus was desperate for some military glory to match his famous partners. So he led an army of over 40,000 legionaries east, planning to conquer Parthia and grab its legendary riches. The Romans, supremely confident in their infantry, were completely unprepared for what was waiting for them. The Parthian general, Serena, had a much smaller force of about 10,000 men. They were almost all cavalry, light horse archers, and heavily armored cataphracts. The Roman legions, slow and clumsy on the open plain, were quickly surrounded and hammered by a constant storm of arrows. The Parthians used a tactic that would become legendary, the Parthian shot, where their horse archers would pretend to retreat, only to turn in their saddles and fire back, giving the Romans zero breaks. The Battle of Carrhae was an absolute catastrophe for Rome. About 20,000 Romans were killed, and another 10,000 were captured, one of the worst military defeats in the Republic's history. Crassus himself was killed, and the legend says the Parthians, mocking his infamous greed, poured molten gold down his throat. Carrhae wasn't just a battle. It was the violent birth of a superpower rivalry. It drew a bloody line in the sand, with the kingdoms of Armenia and Mesopotamia becoming the flashpoints for centuries of war. Rome had learned a hard lesson. Out east, they had finally met their match. For almost 300 years, Rome and Parthia were stuck in a tense stalemate, with brutal but mostly indecisive wars flaring up every so often. But then, in 224 CE, the management in Persia changed. The old Parthian dynasty was overthrown, and a new, far more aggressive power took over, the Sassanian Empire. The Sassanians were fired up by a potent mix of religious belief and imperial ambition. And wouldn't you know it, their rise happened during one of the most chaotic periods in Roman history, the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 CE, the Roman Empire was literally tearing itself apart with civil wars, plagues, and economic collapse. Dozens of emperors came and went, most of them violently. The great Sassanian king Shapur I saw a golden opportunity. He launched a series of devastating invasions into Roman territory, which led to a moment of ultimate humiliation for Rome. In 260 CE at the Battle of Edessa, Shapur's army didn't just defeat the Romans, they captured the Roman Emperor Valerian himself. Valerian died a prisoner in Persia, an unprecedented disaster that sent shockwaves across the Roman world. Shapur's forces sacked major cities, including Antioch, the third largest city in the empire, and deported thousands of its people to Persia. For a while, the Sassanian Empire wasn't just a rival, it was the dominant power, and it looked like Rome was on the brink of total collapse. Fast forward to the 6th century. The Western Roman Empire is gone, but its eastern half, what we now call the Byzantine Empire, is still standing strong in its capital, Constantinople. And this new generation of Romans is facing that same old enemy. This era was defined by two of the most legendary rulers of the ancient world: the wildly ambitious Byzantine Emperor Justinian III and the cunning Sassanian Shah, Khosrow I. Justinian had a grand dream: to restore the Roman Empire to its former glory. To make sure his eastern border was safe before he started his reconquests in Italy and North Africa, he signed a treaty with Khosrow in 532 called the Perpetual Peace. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Khosrow watched Justinian's stunning successes in the West and got nervous, fearing that a revitalized Rome would eventually turn its full military might on him. So, in 540, using some minor border squabbles as an excuse, Khosrow tore up the treaty and launched a massive invasion of Syria. His army once again sacked the great city of Antioch, a huge blow to Byzantine prestige and a replay of Shapur's earlier triumph. This kicked off decades of intense, back-and-forth warfare. This was a true clash of titans, full of legendary figures like Justinian's genius general, Belisarius. But even with brilliant commanders, neither side could ever land a knockout blow. The conflict just drained the treasuries of both empires in a grinding war of attrition. It was a struggle that cemented the Sassanian Empire as the Byzantines' absolute equal, a rival superpower locked in a seemingly endless dance of war and diplomacy. But this was a Pyrrhic victory. The final terrible war had left both the Byzantine and Sassanian empires utterly exhausted. Their treasuries were empty, their best soldiers were dead, and their people were broken by decades of constant warfare. They had fought each other to a complete standstill, and the final result was just a return to the same borders they had before the war even started. After more than 600 years of war, there was no Roman or Persian victor. The only real beneficiary of their long, bloody feud was a third power that rose from the ashes to build a new world. In the 630s, united by Islam, Arab armies surged out of the peninsula. They encountered two weakened empires. The Sassanian Empire, torn by civil war, collapsed by 651, leaving only its cultural legacy. The Byzantine Empire, exhausted from decades of war, barely survived, losing Syria, Jerusalem, Egypt, and North Africa. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more epic historical stories. Which battle or empire fascinated you the most? Let us know below.